Hey SmartPak fans, I'm SmartPaker Dan. She's Dr. Lydia Gray, SmartPak staff veterinarian and medical director, and we're here to answer horse health questions asked and voted on by you. Now, last month we took Ask the Vet on the road, and we were actually at TNT Equine Clinic in Berwick, Maine, which was so much fun. How did you think that one went?
You know, I was nervous at first doing this in front of a live studio audience and not a studio.
You don't know what they're going to say.
No, and they were going to ask me hard questions, but they weren't mic'd, so it was all good. But it actually went well. We did a question, and then we would stop rolling and let them talk and ask stuff again, then we would roll again. So it was actually fun.
It was a great time, and the staff up there was absolutely fantastic.
They were. So thank you, Dr. Erickson and Lori and everybody who put that on.
Well, hopefully we can do something like that again in the future. And then in other Ask the Vet news, you've been actually really busy. You actually took over hosting gigs for a little bit.
Which is very hard, so props to Dan. I mean,
I tried really hard.
I didn't know how hard that chair was until I did it myself.
So we actually had Dr. Nerida Richards in from Feed Excel, who is equine nutritionist extraordinaire.
And Australian.
And Australian. So you guys did a series of Ask the Vet videos that were a little bit shorter, not like one of these longer ones.
They were nutrition, they were all nutrition-based.
And nutrition-based. So those should be coming up kind of shortly, so you guys can definitely make sure to check those ones out. They look like they were very good from the sneak peek I saw.
Good.
But so on to this, back to our regular formatting, and on to the questions we have for this month. So the first question was asked by Mary Ann on SmartPak's blog at blog.smartpak.com. And Mary Ann says, my Dutch warm blood is 17.3 hands and 1,500 pounds. We live in Central Florida, where the summers can be brutally hot and humid. I can only imagine. He is 18 years old and has been in work most of his life as a jumper for years, and now does dressage. He has always sounded a bit heavy breath after working for about 30 minutes, but seems to recover afterward. My trainer says that's just him and he's fine. I'm often scheduled for training later in the morning or even afternoons and have passed on the lesson for fear it will be hard on him. But I feel like everyone thinks I'm babying him too much. How much should I push him in the heat? With summer just around the corner, I'm already stressed.
Yeah, maybe she should do the reverse winter bird thing where the people from Florida move up here when it's hot. I don't know. That's a thing.
Yeah, our summers are beautiful.
So I feel like you know your horse best, and if you think he is uncomfortable and you need to not do a lesson because it's a particularly hot and humid day, or call a lesson short, or have a light day, then I think that's fine, and don't be affected by peer pressure. I'm going to let you have a conversation with your trainer. I'm not getting in the middle of that. I would also tell you to have a conversation with your vet, because it is possible that now, while it sounds like she's got a big, heavy horse, that I'm not surprised that it doesn't deal well with heat. Because if you think about eventing, they don't use 17.3 hand Dutch warm bloods for a reason. They don't recover well from cross country. But talk to your vet, because it's possible your horse could have a medical reason for not recovering well, or just struggling with performance when it's hot and humid. Something like maybe he's borderline anhidrosis, like non-sweater. Maybe he's got a respiratory condition brewing, like inflammatory airway disease, or something like that, allergies, where it just, he's fine if it's all great, but the minute it gets above a threshold, he begins to suffer. When you talk to your vet, you'll also want to go over the best way, how to make sure you know your horse's vitals, temperature, pulse, and respiration, but also the best way to cool your horse. And a lot of people don't know, it's, I can't reach it, but it's that black thing and this thing. So there's a saying, do we just knock everything over?
I knocked everything over, sorry.
Great. Spray, scrape, repeat. And so you want it to cool them down, because he's big. When you have a lot of muscle, then it takes a long time for the heat to dissipate.
Yes.
So that may be part of why he feels uncomfortable. But so you spray them with cold water. You can hose them or use a bucket. Ice is fine. You can add rubbing alcohol to the water, and it cools faster. You can put it right over the muscles on the horse's whole body. None of those rumors you heard about causing cramps or tearing up are true. Okay. I feel like we've
all heard that one.
Okay. So you get them wet and immediately you scrape them off, and you can feel that water is hot already.
Yeah.
So you have to get the hot water off, otherwise it acts like an insulator or a raincoat and makes them hotter.
So you think you're doing something good, but you might be doing something
Have you
detrimental.
seen the people that they've got a hot horse, they're trying to cool them out, and they put a wet towel over them?
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. That's the worst thing possible because you are keeping the heat in.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's terrible.
So hose them off and then scrape that off, that hot water, and then
spray,
cool it down
scrape,
again.
Repeat, scrape. It's like your hair. When the shampoo says lather, rinse, repeat. So
Yeah.
you just keep doing it.
My hair's really short. I don't usually have to repeat that often.
Until the water comes off cool. And you can let them drink. You can keep them walking. You can, if you can find a breeze or shade, that's ideal.
And what you just brought up, letting them drink, I think that's another misconception. A lot of people, they think if they let their horse drink, if they're hot, they're going to colic or something like that.
No, because it cools them off, it rehydrates them, and a really interesting tidbit, horses will drink, they'll have a thirst, that thirst mechanism kicks in right when they're done working and they're hot, or even while they're working, like if you see endurance horses. But if you give them time and they cool off, they're like, nah, I'm good.
Oh.
So let them drink when they're hot.
If they're thirsty, let them drink.
You know what? You heard it right here. If they're thirsty, let them drink.
I think that movie Black Beauty did us all wrong as far as it only drink when it's hot. But
So trust your instincts. I'm going to wrap this up. Trust your instincts. So talk to your vet. Talk again to your trainer. Make sure you know your horse's normals and know how to cool. And I like the idea of working when it's early if you can, not working on those hot, humid days. I mean, it's the thing. Some horses just don't handle the heat like people don't handle the heat. I mean, I'm a delicate flower, so when it gets warm, I like to stay inside.
Duly noted. Well, hopefully that was helpful, Marion, and keep us posted with how your horse is doing. So on to question number 2, which was submitted by Bay Webb on YouTube. And Bay Webb says, if you have a beginner's eye and need to look at conformation, what's the first thing a vet will look at for soundness? Ooh.
This sounds like an easy question. It is not. Because there's no place there's more jargon than conformation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now, you and I could do a speed round of conformation, like sickle-hocked and cow-hocked and calf-kneed and this and that. And I remember years and years ago going to the AAEP annual convention, and there was a talk on conformation and its effect on soundness. And it was specifically, what things do you see, angles and length and slopes and that are actually real?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of shot holes in everything I believed in.
So what do you mean when you say what's actually real?
Well, so we hear things like horses with long sloping pasterns, maybe not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It actually turns out ideal would be medium length, medium slope.
Mm-hmm.
Long sloping pasterns are not bad. You'd rather have, I know, hold on to yours too. You'd rather have a long sloping pastern than a short upright pasterns.
Okay.
Everyone that I could see agreed short upright pasterns are not good, both for the soundness and longevity. So the concussive forces that your horse is undergoing in a short upright pastern tend to concentrate in that pastern area, in the fetlock, even in the foot, and they set the horse up for like a ring bone.
Okay.
Arthritis all down the short bone of the leg. And the thinking was a long sloping pastern set your horse up for like a bowed tendon or a pole suspensory. Doesn't. It's actually protective. So
blew my mind.
I know.
First thing this morning.
I know, but if you start at the bottom, everyone agreed the foot's the foundation, and there was a lot of research and evidence-based medicine on the foot, and it turns out that the long toe, low heel, is the worst foot conformation.
Okay.
And the one that you should avoid.
Okay.
Because it said there are a multitude of problems associated with that, not just one.
Yep.
It sets the horse up for lots of things to go wrong. but navicular or caudal heel syndrome was one of them, because when you have a long toe way out in front and a low heel, and you use like a plumb line from the horse, because we know most of their weight goes on their forehand, it puts 75% of the horse's weight on the heel. And those structures just cannot tolerate that.
Well, so I ride stock horses, which navicular is very common in, and so that is something we usually look at, is how is their toe? Do they have a long toe, low heel situation?
Okay.
Because we know that is something stock horses, unfortunately, can be.
And quarter horses specifically, and possibly stock horses, not that they're bred for small feet, but they tend to have, in proportion of their size and weight, small feet. And small feet also not good.
Okay, we want dinner plates, big.
Well, no, flat feet not good.
Okay.
Yeah, clubfoot came up in the paper, and as long as it's not a severe clubfoot, then it wasn't that bad of a problem. And I had kind of always stayed away from a clubfoot. In fact, I'm horse shopping now, and I saw a clubfoot. And I walked away, and I saw a long toe, low heel, and I walked away.
Yep, smart.
So, I'm glad.
This is actually a perfect topic for you, since you are horse shopping.
I know. Let me see what else I found. We talked about the feet and the pasterns and the foot. Oh, there's this myth out there about you're supposed to have a short cannon bone.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
I have heard that.
And that's not true.
That's no impact whatsoever.
No.
Okay.
So in the hock, when you look at the horse from the side, a sickle hock means they come down and the back of the pastern, instead of being like horizontal, is sloping this way.
Yeah.
Like that's the front of the horse. Sorry, we need a horse here. And sickle hocks do make horses a little bit prone to a curb, but they're not. I mean, if it's not a bad sickle hock, it's not something to walk away from.
Okay.
So, note to self.
So sickle hock, you can still
You can
explore.
live with it if it's not terrible. And the horse that is post-legged. So do you know what that? So much jargon. When a horse doesn't have much bend in the hindquarters, that the leg is fairly straight.
Line.
Yeah, like there isn't much bend in the hock. Those horses are set up for a hind suspensory issue. So if it's a severe post-legged horse, then that might not be a good choice. Yeah. One more. You've seen or heard of a hunter's bump?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a bump in the croup of a horse, right where the top of the pelvis is.
I was going to try to help you out and explain it, but
Can
I was
you?
like, well, so if you look towards like the back of the horse, you do see like this little extra bump.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
And it can be on one side or both.
Yep.
And I always thought, I was told it was an injury between the ligaments of that part of the pelvis, the tuber sacrale, and the spine itself, where it attaches, the sacrum. It's not. One of the people said
We're just debunking myths all over the place
here.
here.
And not helping her at all. But one of the people said it's actually a beauty mark, not a defect.
Really? Well, look at that. We were walking away from all these horses, and it's just a beauty mark all along.
I know. So talk to your vet, but I would also do some reading at a reputable source, because you're going to have to count on yourself to be like, what's good, conformation, what's okay, doesn't matter, and what is legitimately a problem.
And also probably manage like what your goals are with the horse.
That's the other thing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
A horse's conformation, like what might be bad in one discipline, say racing, is okay or in fact good in another discipline.
Yeah.
So even if you stick with English, what jumpers like and what a dressage horse is how he's going to look to excel can be quite different. And then your Western disciplines, what a reiner might do okay with or need to function at his peak is not what a Western pleasure horse needs. So it is absolutely discipline specific. Thank you.
Absolutely. So basically, we'll look at feet, see how that's set up.
Yeah.
Hocks after that.
Well,
kind of
just
looking
work
at.
up the limbs.
Okay.
Because it's feet and then it's limbs. There was a little discussion about sloping shoulder, and the thing with that was, because you've heard, sloping shoulder.
Yes.
Well, when they looked at it, everybody measures it from a different place. And I'm like, so there's no agreed upon definition of sloping shoulder. I know.
So with that being said, are you going to share with us after you buy your new horse?
Yeah, sure.
You'll share a video, a photo?
Sure.
All right. So you'll have to stay tuned for the next Ask the Vet video. I like how I pick on the spot like that.
Well,
for
I'm
things
going to
like
be the
this.
next Ask the Vet video. But
I'll put the pressure on.
it'll be a Ask the Vet video.
Future one. I'll make it the next one. So our next question was submitted by Loretta on the SmartPak blog, and Loretta wants to know, she was wondering, what is your opinion on body clipping a horse in March or April? I have a 13-hand pony that grows fairly thick coat, and it's just too much work for me to wait till he sheds it all. Plus, it increases drying time after exercising. And she also says, love the videos, keep it up.
Oh.
I can only imagine how hairy a 13-hand pony can get and how long that can wait. They get little fluff balls during the winter.
First, we have the medical disclaimer. We say, if a horse or pony is excessively hairy or the hair coat changes in length, thickness, color, even if it's subtle, this doesn't sound subtle, talk to your vet, because there are some medical conditions, specifically some endocrine conditions like Cushing's or PPID that could be responsible. So first we make sure that he's normal, and then we clip him. I love the idea of clipping, and it doesn't matter that it's March or April. I think that's a great time because where I live, it can be 70 during the day and they're roasting, and then maybe 40 at night. It's just, there's these wild swings, you know, so it's very uncomfortable just to be standing, but then they also tend to get overheated when they work, when they have a big hair coat. And then it's no fun for the person either, like she says, because then they're sweating and their skin's wet and their hair's wet, and it takes forever, and you have to have multiple coolers because they soak one and you toss that and they put the next one on. And, you know, you have a 30-minute ride and then you have a 2-hour drying session. So that's no fun. And that's one of the reasons we clip, is to make so that we can work our horses safely for them and conveniently for us. You know, we want to do other things like have dinner.
No, absolutely. And then there's obviously different types of clipping as well. It doesn't always have to necessarily be a full body clip.
I made a list.
Was that giving you a good segue?
It did, and I hadn't heard of some of these, but I looked at them like, that makes total sense. Like, had you heard of a bib clip?
I had not heard of that one.
A bib clip is just the neck and the jugular veins in between the front legs.
That does make sense, though.
Yeah, and then to go on from a bib is an apron. They each go on.
Yeah.
So bib, apron, Irish, trace, and trace is a low, medium, high.
Yes.
Yeah. Chaser.
I have not heard of that.
Steeple chaser.
Okay.
Yeah. Blanket clip, hunter, and full. Like full is everything. So hunter is where you do everything but the saddle. So that, which is, you know, so it's up to you. And some people clip in parts. Like they'll do a bib or an apron and then go, you know what, he's still sweating. Like some people will clip where they sweat, which is a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you could clip and go, it helps, but he needs more. So then you clip a little bit again, and then you clip again, and finally you get to a place that you like and it works for them.
That's great. We actually do, because clipping comes up a lot with customers asking, so we do actually have like a blanketing and clipping resource center, which we can probably put a link down below for you guys to check out if you have further questions, little tips and tricks for you.
No, I think it's a great idea, so I'd go for it.
Go for it. Make your life a lot easier for those cool ads. So question number 4 then was submitted by Kay on the SmartPak blog. And she wants to know, what are the symptoms of copper deficiency? Are rose-colored spots on skin not covered by hair, particularly on the inner rear legs near the abdomen, one of the symptoms of it? And then what is the best way to correct that deficiency?
Well, I spent most of my time on...
I'm very curious as to what you're going to say with this one.
Oh, me too. So the whole rose-colored spots thing, have you seen those? Do you know what she's talking about?
A little bit.
Okay, I've seen them.
Yeah.
And you kind of see them more when the horse gets wet.
Okay. Oh, yes.
And the hair's, like she's talking about a place where there's not hair. I bet if she wet her horse and looked, she'd see more of them. I don't think those have anything to do with copper deficiency. The only thing that I could find about copper deficiency in horses, and it's not even in the NRC, which is my go-to, but it's hair color. But first, we'll go back to the NRC, and here's what they say. Notice there's no mention of hair.
Okay.
Copper is essential for several copper-dependent enzymes involved in the synthesis and maintenance of elastic connective tissue, mobilization of iron stores, so anemia can be a result, preservation of the integrity of mitochondria. Goodness. Melanin synthesis.
Okay, so that does.
And detoxification of superoxide, so it has the role as an antioxidant. So yeah, so I'm thinking the melanin synthesis is let's go down that rabbit hole, shall we?
Let's go down it.
So melanin is a pigment, and the enzyme that's responsible for pigment production is copper dependent.
Okay.
So if you don't have enough copper, you can't make the enzyme that makes melanin.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Without this, you can't have that.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're not making enough pigment, then in chestnut horses, and Nerida said she looks at cattle first. They seem to be the first, the canary, like they send the canaries in the coal mines. Mm-hmm. Okay, they're the first sort of signal of copper deficiency, maybe in the hay or pasture in the area. The Herefords are supposed to be this really rich copper, orange, red, almost color like a liver chestnut. And when they become copper deficient, they turn this icky, light orange, yellowish color.
Okay.
It looks muted.
A little duller.
Dull, yeah. And then black horses, what they do is the tips of the hair, especially in Maine you'll see it turns kind of rust or copper color because they're losing their black pigment.
Oh.
And
that's at the tips, not at the roots of it.
Right,
okay.
right. So you see at the tips. And another thought is that when you don't have a full dose of pigment, then when UV radiation, sunlight, you're exposed to it for a long length of time, the hair bleaches out easier.
Well,
because there's not a full dose of like color there. So
well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is like for as far as seeing like the tips on a black horse be a little like rusted looking, how do you know that's not just from like sun bleaching, or how do you know that's from
I think it's
related?
Related.
Okay.
It's related, and it could be copper deficiency. Now the trick and why I made such a face when you said how do you fix it? You call a Nerida because copper is a micro mineral or a trace mineral, so you need it in very small amounts. And the NRC says 100 milligrams a day. And zinc is another one that also has a role in color, and that's 400 milligrams a day. So it's a 1-to-4 ratio.
Okay.
If you don't have enough copper, then you may run into these other issues as well as color. Or if you have too much of other trace minerals that are either interacting or preventing the absorption of copper, you run it. So see, the interaction is tricky.
Yes.
So it's not as simple as just, give him more copper.
Because then you can impact another mineral.
Yep. So if you think you have a horse with a copper deficiency, you probably should have the whole diet evaluated. And then try to build from the ground up a balanced diet and not just add in things, because I think you're going to make a worse problem just adding in copper.
So you did bring up Dr. Richards, and so we didn't explain Feed Excel at the beginning of this, which I do apologize for, but you can actually go on Feed Excel and put in your horse's complete diet from grain to hay to supplements, and then it gives you this beautiful chart kind of showing where your horse is deficient and then where your horse is doing really well in certain...
It has like the 100% line, and then it has graphs, little bars, and it says you're not quite there, or you're there, or you're even past it.
So it can kind of let you play around to see what you can do to get your horse to optimal levels for certain nutrients. So that could be a resource for you guys to take advantage of to see where you guys need, especially for something like coppers, where it's so specific of
and it's such a little amount that they need. But without that, they can't make the enzymes. And the enzymes, I mean, we see it on the outside because of the hair coat, but there's lots of stuff going on the inside if the enzyme is not there.
So hair coat color potentially could be a sign, though the rose-colored spots on the skin, probably not.
Probably not, no.
Okay.
No. And if she's concerned, I mean, ask the vet the next time he or she is out there. But I see those a lot, and they don't seem to be a problem, and they don't seem to spread, and I guess I don't worry about them.
All right, we won't worry about them then. So moving on to question number 5, which was submitted by Ashley on our forum at smartpak.com/askthevetquestions. And Ashley says, cellulitis and how to bring more circulation to the legs. Ashley is to the point.
Okay. Well,
she knows what she wants.
I have a lot to say about cellulitis. So we should probably define it first.
Okay.
And not to be confused with cellulite.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So cellulitis, I mean, the itis gives it away. It's inflammation.
Yeah.
Right. It's specifically under the skin and sort of between the skin and the next layer, which is fatty tissue and connective tissue. Mm-hmm. And it's a deep-seated infection. And usually in horses, it's legs, it's hind legs, and it's one hind leg. And it's only in about half the cases do we know what caused it. But when
horses.
Hey, half is good. When we do know, it's from like a wound, an injury, a break in the skin. Could be like there was a surgery and it just allowed bacteria to go in. But it is a bacterial infection. And the thing about cellulitis is one day your horse is totally fine, and the next day he's three-legged lame. The leg is blown
I was gonna say, usually
up. We call it like a stovepipe leg because from the hoof to, could be the hock or knee, could be higher. It is like one thing. It's excruciatingly painful, like to the touch, but also to stand and move on. So it would be an emergency because you don't know that it's cellulitis. And even your vet looking at it is not going to know. So they might do some imaging. They might do some blood work to make sure that your horse, to see if there's an infection going on, to see if it's a local infection or to see if it's a body-wide infection, because this all tells them how to treat it. If everything points to cellulitis, then we do try to find out what the cause is, because you have to get rid of that. But aggressive antibiotics,
yeah.
And then painkillers, pain relief, and anti-inflammatory, so non-steroidals, like your butes and bandamines and fibracoxib, which is Equiox. And it comes down pretty quick. Now, the things that the owner is going to have to do is cold hosing or icing.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
It sounds like you're going to be spending some time cold hosing.
Oh, yeah. And you would like to use something like a game ready or an ice horse that has the cold and compression, but it's so painful, you're not going to be able to do that right away.
Well, that's just going to ask, like, as far as like poulticing or things of that nature to help.
No,
but you don't want to touch
it's
anything.
open.
Yeah,
It might be open. And the other thing is, when the body swells, skin has only so much, like, room to expand.
Elasticity.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a big word.
I tried.
And when it swells more than it has elasticity for, there can be like microscopic breaks in the skin. And then you'll see a yellowish, the serum of the blood is oozing out, and it even gets crusty. So you don't want to put a poultice on it. You don't want to put a liniment. You don't want to put anything on it. You let the antibiotics do the work, let the non-steroidals, the cold hosing or icing. You will eventually be able to bandage it. Bandaging and application of cold are tremendous for it. There are things you may have to do well beyond the medication. And even because when a horse has a cellulitis in a leg, that leg is more susceptible to it in the future.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
even if you get rid of the infection.
Yeah, because you have stretched all the tissues, maybe created scar tissue. You maybe I say you, it's not your fault. The circulation is impaired. The lymph drainage doesn't work properly anymore. And so you have to be, in the future, to prevent it, I mean, there's things you can do. You closely monitor the legs. So you have to, every day, be looking for cuts, breaks, scabs, abrasions. You can't let your horse get scratches.
Okay.
And turnout is great, because when they're in a stall, they swell up.
So you want a little movement.
But you don't want to turn them out early in the morning when there's wet grass, because you want to avoid that leg getting wet. Can't put it in, you can't turn out when it's muddy or sloppy.
The fun parts of horse ownership.
Oh my goodness, so I don't mean to be discouraging, but there is quite a bit of care in the moment and then afterwards.
So that's good to know, though, because a lot of times when horse owners do go down, they see that the horse's leg is swelled up. A lot of times, even if if it's just the hock and it doesn't seem like super dramatic, they do want to like wrap or do something like that to kind of get the compression down.
Yeah, but the horse will tell you. The horse, it's so painful.
So at this point, it's like get the vet out, make sure it's
because the horse probably isn't going to be bearing weight, and so you won't know that it's a cellulitis unless you've been through this with this horse. You don't know if it's. I mean, this looks as bad as a fracture.
Oh, so it's,
Oh yeah, it's three-legged lame. It could be an abscess. There's a couple things that make horses joint infection. When your joints get infected, the horse is three-legged, like non-weight bearing. So you've got, this is an emergency, not only to make sure it's not one of those things, but you've got to get therapy started right away.
And get ahead of the infection.
Yeah.
So then with her follow-up question of how to bring more circulation to the legs, turnout's okay, hand walking, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exercise is really good to keep things moving. As little, like I don't keep my horse in a stall, not for this reason, but for others. So if you can find a situation where the horse is not in a stall at night, like it's a run in, run out, that would be ideal. Because when they're stabled and standing still, that leg is just going to stock up. Trailering even will cause them to stock up. So, and you also want to protect the leg. So when you trailer, you'll want to, for sure, if you didn't before, use shipping boots or wraps, however you want to do it. This may be a horse that you now wrap when you exercise because they can't have a bump or boo-boo because then that's going to get the cycle going again. I know.
But it sounds like, though, if you get ahead of it, there's at least hope for you to have some treatment and management.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't want to scare people too much.
Well, I want to add that it can be life-threatening, but that's why you call your vet right away and you get on top of it.
Instantly, okay.
And there are treatments, yeah.
Well, that is definitely great to know, and keep us posted with how your horse is doing for sure.
Sorry.
But that is it for this episode of Ask the Vet. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to submit your questions. We really appreciate all the great ones that come through.
I thought they were really good this time.
There were some really great ones this time. The copper one, I think, really.
I learned a lot. Well, I think I learned the most on the confirmation question.
I mean, my horse shopping now will be a lot better.
Thank you. My horse shopping is going to be a lot better. Thank you.
But make sure to keep asking more great questions for our July episode. And you can ask those questions on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our blog, and our forum at smartpak.com/askthevetquestions. Just make sure to use hashtag AskTheVetVideos. And don't forget to check out our playlist in the Horse Health Library to see if your question is already answered. And bonus, more stuff. If your question was answered in this video or one of our previous videos, make sure to reach out to our customer care team at CustomerCare@smartpak.com so you can redeem your SmartPak gift card. Horse show season's right around the corner, so you can put that to good use, I'm sure.
To get a sweat scraper.
Yes, or clippers. But so make sure to do that. And so until next time, make sure to subscribe and have a great ride.